everywhere. So,
Hey Skyfares, and welcome to Aethercast, the Kharadron Overlords channel and podcast. Where today we are talking about the list, the one list to rule them all. Potentially, the best KO list out there at the moment. Joining me for tonight's chat is Mr. Max Bowman, Duard and Max.
hello. How is everyone?
Yes, if you're in the chat, say hello and apologies for being a little bit late for tonight's show. There seems to be a fair few people in the chat, including Matt. Hi, Matt. And lots of other people. John, JS, Robin. Hello to everyone that's joined us. Cool. So, before we talk about the one list to rule them all, the news.
News. Yes. When was the last show we did?
Quite a while ago.
So I think the biggest news is apparently Kharadron Overlords is the next order book due. We always suspected summer, August, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But since the LVO preview, we know that Seraphon will be in summer. So that only leaves Cities and Kharadron without the third edition book. And I don't think Cities is yet ready because it looks like they'll get a bigger kits release, a complete overhaul. And to do that within spring, we don't know what GW spring is, but let's assume March, April.
We have rumors. Rumors that the day for Man Reads book, so the day that it basically goes on pre-order, and that the non-disclosure agreement ends is March the 4th, apparently.
Yes.
And so that means you will have the book in your hands March the 11th, because that's math.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, 4 + 7 is 11. So, well, unless your postman is early, you might get it. So that's the rumors anyway. We don't have that confirmed. We are not special enough to be given a book in advance, so we don't know. But yeah, that's the rumor anyway.
That is the rumor. This is what we're expecting. So yeah, 1 month.
Yes.
Yes, JS, this year, not next year.
This year. Yes. Yeah.
Hopefully this year.
Yeah.
So, which leaves me with 1 month of this. short life. But yeah, I went back to my gits and all my squigs that I had since the Jaws of Mork White Dwarf update, and since the book is very interesting, I gave him a dust off because KO. Let's be honest, it's this time where you know there's a new book, so yeah, you could write new lists or try new things, but you don't know what to paint, what to buy, because you don't know what's in the book. So why not delve into the new hot stuff in the meantime?
Yeah, but if you do want to play KO, then it seems like there's emerged a list that most people are gravitating to.
Yes, which will be today's topic. Are there other news before we jump into the other updates? Yes.
Minor Dwarden-based news, not necessarily specifically KO, but there is a new series of the Chronicles of Grombrindle in White Dwarf. Well, it doesn't actually say Chronicles of Grom, but it's a new series featuring Grombrindle.
Chronicles of the Wanderer. Was that the title?
Yeah, well, it doesn't even say Chronicles this time. It says something like a new series.
Pub stories.
Yeah, but new stuff with dwarfs in.
Cool.
That's cool.
And is this different from what is in the novel or the story collection from Black Library?
Well, it says it's new. I haven't read those short stories, and I haven't read that yet, so I don't know.
Because some of those were already featured in White Dwarfs, and some were new. So I'm interested if these new ones that are coming up are already in the book or are completely new.
I would assume they're completely new, because you'd be a bit annoyed if you bought the book and then they just start releasing them all.
Yeah, obviously.
So we'll see.
Okay.
But the first one is mostly about dispossessing fire slayers. There's a mention of KO.
Absolutely fine by me. Yeah. Cool. Yeah.
Yes.
Dwarfs.
Yeah,
Um,
all the dwarf fun.
other news, not much dwarf-related news, to be honest. It's all been talk about
Still
Beast of
being
Chaos and
Beast of
Squig.
Chaos and Squigs and
Squig's doing crazy stuff, yeah.
and minor stuff about Seraphon, but they haven't revealed much. They've revealed that the Astrolith Bearer does this thing it did before.
Yeah, here's a new model. The rules are identical, which
Yeah.
gives me great hopes for the book. It's just same rules, but
Yeah,
I
maybe
don't
they'll
know.
tone some things down.
I
But
don't
we'll
know.
see.
Maybe it was a misprint. They just printed the old rules instead of the new ones. I don't know.
Oh, I don't know.
I mean, the rules are good. Let's be honest. It's a good rule
Yes.
he has. A set of
I
rules.
mean, the thing is, they're bringing a new model out. They have to write an article about it. Be like, oh yeah, this is what he does.
I
It
was
doesn't really.
surprised they actually did an article about it. Like, why half a year ahead of time? Like, here's the new model, same rules. By the time it will be available to buy, I'll have forgotten about the article.
Well, I don't know. But
So
it helps.
this, I don't know. Or was it leaked? Was that picture leaked? That model somehow?
Don't think so.
It was like a cover up, like quick.
I don't know. But they had the whole release video and stuff, so it's just like generating more hype around it, wasn't it? Cool. Should we talk about this list?
I don't know. Why so early?
Don't know.
Okay.
Build the hype. Maybe they've got more
Mhm.
stuff to show. So
Where's the KO hype? Come on.
yeah.
Although
I guess
that article for the Seraphim guy, sorry to interrupt.
Mhm.
At the end, it mentioned we'll have more Age of Sigma news next week. So
yeah.
next week.
If you're watching this in the future,
Yes.
probably tomorrow
Today is the
evening,
11th
you
of
might.
February.
Yes, then you might already know what happened because obviously Sunday evenings we normally get the next week in Warhammer thing. So
Yeah, I
might be something
suspect
in
it
that.
might be like a Monday or a Tuesday article, and it might be some lore for Kharadron. Usually they start with a lore article, and then once you get up to the book release, they do some tidbits of rules or models or things like that. So perhaps.
Cool. Let's talk about this list then. That's why everyone's here. They want to hear us talk about KO
Don't know
and
the secret.
opine about all of our stuff. Hopefully there won't be lots of disappointed people going, oh, they're talking about this list. But anyway, here's an example. It is just an example because Max might disagree, but I think there are essential components to this list, and there are some bits that are less essential and you can tweak. But this is a good example. This is what has become known in the WhatsApp chat as the list. Maybe not so much on Facebook or Discord or other places, but if you haven't seen this list before, then obviously it's new to you. But if you have seen it before, then this is basically what we're talking about for the whole show. So get ready for it. So Barrack Sylvan has an Aether Chemist as the general with the collector command trait Spend a Bottle, the new Leadership of the Alpha, an Aetheric Navigator with the Flare Pistol, another Navigator, 2 Admirals, one with the Staff of Ocular Optimization, 20 Arcanauts, 2 units of 10 Arcanauts, 2 Ironclads, one with the Battle Ram. That's maybe one of the things you can tweak. An Ironclad with the Buoyancy Aid, and the Purple Sun. So let's start breaking this down into stuff. So, essential things. Command Entourage or Warlord. You pretty much can't build this list without that because you need extra artifacts, because you want to use Collector, so you can you need to be able to give the Chemist Spell in a bottle, which you can't do if you only have one artifact, and Collector only works if you get give him an artifact. So you'd have to
perhaps
2 chemists.
We can take a step back and explain what the list is trying to do, and then go for what we're trying to achieve.
We'll go back a step. Yeah.
Let's go back a step. So, personally, I've been playing this list now for 2 or 3 months. I believe it originated by the mind of Luke Morton. as I've seen it on the English Six Nations team, still with old points. It was 1960 points or
I
1940
think
points.
almost every Six Nations team except for one had a version of this.
At Six Nations, I think Luke had this, and then at Brotherhood, everyone had this,
Oh,
which
Brotherhood,
was
yes,
a
actually,
month later or 2 months later.
okay, yeah, Brotherhood,
Yeah, Brotherhood, almost everyone had this list.
yes.
And it used to be 1940 points, I think, and it went up by exactly 60, so now it's 2,000 points, which is a shame because you lose the Triumph Inspired. So what
But
it is
you gain leadership
basically,
of the Alpha as well.
yes, but you could have gained both.
Yes.
You're trying to throw in an unstoppable purple sun, so you get an extra rend on your shooting. You have 2 Ironclads, be it with sky cannons. I play it with volley guns because it's more hits. You have 20 Arcanauts that you want to deliver with the hero phase move. Get out. All the pistols are in range. Buff them up. You have a navigator, so you can spike your output with a flare pistol, and basically that's what you're trying to do. You have 3 big threats: the Ironclads, both Ironclads, and the 20 Arcanauts with all the buffs and rerolls can do a lot of damage if you give them extra rend from Admiral, extra rend from the Sun. You take off a ward, or you have an extra rend for the next turn, depending on your opponent. So that's what you're trying to achieve with this list. A lot of shooting output, removing entire units. Like in a shooting turn, you want to remove an entire threat. Yep.
It's essentially it's overcoming all the weaknesses KO had when third edition dropped. Because if you were here, then you watched any of our shows, we were going on about how the -1 rend couldn't punch for anything. But now you can buff the rend, you can remove the wards, and you can use Purple Sun to -1 save, and actually now we can kill things if you take this list.
So there's an awesome amount of output in that one
Yes.
turn. If you put everything in it, you can remove half armies. I've done it. It's stupid how many dice you roll.
Yeah. And in terms of what it else can do, it can put a lot of firepower in one place, but it can also then spread out when it needs to, because you can leave the unit of Arcanauts where they are at one point, or you can and then you can use the spreads. Ships obviously don't need to be near each other and stuff, so you can then sort of spread out later.
And what it can also do, I think, very well is achieve battle tactics.
Yes, because you've got enough heroes that give you multiple units.
You have the heroes, so you can do the new ones like the United Offense. You can get out of the ship with the FAQ, run them afterwards. They always run 6 inches in Zilfin, so they're actually have a range of almost 17 inches to get onto objective. So you can have 2 Galician champions run onto an objective, have the ship shoot off whatever's standing on it, and that solves a problem that we used to have where you need to shoot off the unit, and then next turn you could move on to the objective. Now you can actually, from where you are, have heroes move on and shoot off whatever on it.
Yep. And you can also obviously do the KO grand strategy.
You can do the KO ones. They
battle
got
tactics.
a bit harder since they actually clarified them what they're supposed to do. They were auto conclude previously.
Speak for yourself. I was playing them that way anyway.
I wasn't. They made chaos pretty good. So you can do, you have teleporting in ships. So you can always do a desecrate. You can do an eye for an eye if you lose the screen of Arcanauts. You can do, cunning maneuver, United Offense. You can do a gaining momentum. There's a lot of. You should always be able to do 5 battle tactics. That's what I've experienced.
Yes,
I usually score full.
I would say the only timing that you will struggle is turn 1 if you don't control the drops. If you haven't got enough drops.
Yes. Then you go for a gaining momentum.
Yeah.
Take 2 objectives and shoot off a unit.
Yeah, or
a
maybe
desecrate.
desecrate the lands.
If you can reach desecrate, depending on the deployment zones. But personally, I like to leave desecrate as my last battle tactic because it's one I can achieve without my opponent being there. Because if you tabled your opponent round 3 or 4, let's say, sometimes you struggle doing battle tactics because they require killing something or conquering an objective for some. So that's one I can always do last turn. Yeah, okay, a table, and I can still do that. That's great. I fly over there. I need to go there anyway because of my grand strategy. Take what's theirs, which is super easy with a ship with 2 heroes inside. That's 3 units. End of game, if your opponent still has 3 units in his deployment, there's something wrong, either in his game plan or you already lost because he has that many units left.
Yeah.
So it's super achievable. It's a bit of a win more grand strategy. Because if you lost your ships and you can't go, then you basically lost the game. And if you can do it, then you already won anyway.
Yeah.
So it's a good one.
Yeah. Cool. So let's start breaking the details down.
Yeah.
So
how does this all work together? Yeah.
Yes. So we started saying before. Yeah, you need to have either Command Entourage or Warlord. To be honest, which one you have doesn't necessarily matter if you're trying to chase the drops or not, which will maybe circle back around to cover some of the details and sort of talk about the fine tuning towards the end.
You want an extra artifact because of how Collector and the Zilfin artifact is worded. And you want that because you want to give the chemist a spell in the bottle.
Yeah, you need spell in the bottle. So
either you take a second chemist or
if you take a second chemist or you take this, whether or not you have Collector could be maybe considered not necessarily essential to have, but it once you're giving a chemist the spell in the bottle, then you might as well be taking Collector anyway.
Yes, because Flare Pistol is extremely good for this kind of playstyle.
Yeah,
it makes the Arcanauts even better.
Yeah, and if you play, the thing is, would you play them without the Flare Pistol? You always miss it. So, okay. You need to be Barrack Zilfin because you need the hero phase move. That is literally it. You need the hero phase move.
It's 2 ways to deliver. The sun is Monar when you low drop and I can go first, so you do the move your ship somewhere after deployment, or you use Zilfin hero phase move. And there's another need for Zilfin because you need to get the Arcanauts in range. So you need to move the Ironclad and then in a movement phase get them out, so they are in range of pistols.
Yeah.
So you need Zilfin.
And then everything else you get with Zilfin is basically a bonus, but all very good bonuses.
Reroll 1s against flying units is a good bonus. The extra ending work is pretty good, but you don't really need it. The one you need is Boeing Sage to actually get those 20 Arcanauts somewhere. And the auto run 6 is what eventually scores your.
I love that auto run 6.
It scores you the objectives. Because your dwarves are super fast. They can reach, get out of the boat within 6, auto run, another 10, they're on the objective. That's 16 inches, 17 inches. They just moved. And people don't expect that.
Yeah. I use that auto run 6 every game. Because
absolutely. If the pistols or something's not in range, you just run the unit. Who cares? It's free movement. Get them that objective with the Arcanauts.
To the point that when I deploy, I'm actually sort of pre-measuring things to make sure they can get to certain places and that sort of thing.
Pardon me?
Just keeping it. Pardon?
Yeah, it was just hi Stratos or Sasha. So basically, the wording is the Zilfin artifact needs to be the first one you allocate. The Staff of Ocular Optimization. The problem with Collector is when he receives an artifact, then you can give someone else. So if you don't have an extra artifact or anything unlocked, you would need to give the staff to the chemist to then unlock an extra artifact, but then he can't take the spell bottle because he already has the staff. So you need to give the staff to whoever you want. And then unlock a second artifact with the battalion. Give that to the chemist. Now his trade triggers, and you can get a third artifact, the flare pistol. In this case.
Just to clarify further what John said, is the general. The general does not have to have the staff, but the extra artifact you get from collector can't be given to the general. He can't, because you have to give him a different artifact first. That's why you need either command entourage or warlord.
Yes.
Because you have to give staff to someone, and then you have a second one, which is not the one triggered by collector, to give to the general, because the FAQ says that you can't have that one.
It's that old wording. The sub-faction artifacts that was the first hero to receive must have.
Yes.
And then collector only triggers if he already has one. He can get another one to someone else.
Yeah.
It's a weird wording. It's always been this way, and then they did an FAQ, which really didn't explain it, really. So I had questions about this every time.
No. So what the FAQ says, John, people aren't reading the chat. When they'll be watching this later, they're going to be confused. But what the FAQ says is the general can't be given the one that collector generates.
Yes,
because collector generates an artifact. So the general can't be given that one because it doesn't actually say that the general can't.
He needs to get one to unlock
a different artifact,
and he cannot get that.
You just completely broke up during all of that. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly go to. Oh, you're back, Max. You froze completely then. To another question in the chat before we
I did? Okay, because
yeah, you froze. Paul saying tomorrow's his birthday. He's getting to start collecting and the battle tome. Should he keep the book or return it? And I think I would say return it, because everything is in the app anyway for free.
Yes, all you need is in the app, and the book will have a lifetime of a month.
I mean, it might be longer than a month, but you can get everything in the app for free anyway, so it doesn't make any difference.
Yeah, and
because you don't need the book.
I mean, the books are pretty expensive these days, £30. So invest that in an Admiral. In that sweet store anniversary model.
Oh yeah, we'll get that. Yeah. If it's the store's birthday, yeah. Cool. So let's move on. So yeah, you need a chemist, which we basically already talked about how the collector command track works, and then it allows you to have flare pistol. Spell bottle is also what you basically.
It would also allow you to have a void zone orb if you like that.
Yes, if you want to.
Like the flare pistol isn't mandatory.
No. And then the bonus is he can give the Arcanauts reroll ones to wound as well, which buffs them even further. You don't really take him for format, but you take him for the Purple Sun. But
you take him for the Purple Sun, and after he's done that, he can just stand in the front row and shoot people. He's done his job. You don't care.
Yeah, I mean, you're not even that bothered if he dies. Arcanauts even. And then of course you need the Purple Sun. We roughly explained this earlier, but you take it for the -1 to save rolls for units within 6 inches. It has a chance of doing mortal wounds, but you don't necessarily need it for that. It's just nice when it happens.
Yeah, absolutely. It has happened for me several occasions where I deal 12 mortal wounds to Engine of the God, 10 mortal wounds to a Maw Crusher. It's just when it happens against monsters. I think the 6 plus D6 models is even better than slaying the unit. It's just do a lot of wounds on top for free.
Yeah, I've had it when it did like I think it was like 9 mortal wounds to a dragon. Did something like 11 mortal wounds to Bastiladon or something. I don't know. Just had to do a lot of stuff.
It's awesome. And then if if you can get it within an inch of a hero, you just pop that hero. It's free. It's nice to have. It's a bonus.
One of the best things about this and the spend the bottle thing is people can't do anything about it. No. Not when you're going to use it. The only thing that works against this is spell ignores. So like dragons. You're trying to shoot at some dragons. and they roll that 4 up. That's very annoying.
Yes.
That's very frustrating. But for 90% of your games, it works. And probably higher than that. 95% of your
It
games.
works, and because of the oval base and because of the 6 inches to either side, you can usually tag multiple units with this.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. Next, and probably an essential component, but also a little bit, maybe not so much. You want a navigator, definitely, probably at least one. If you go down the collector route, which you probably will, flare pistol is really good. We've sort of already mentioned that. But then he can also half move enemy flying units,
which is
on a 3+.
in some matchups that is what wins you the game. If those 4 dragons
so I think...
move half or a quarter, even if you take a second one, that wins you games.
Yeah. So definitely you want at least one navigator, I think. Plus he then also has unbinds, dispels. I think probably the unbinds and dispels is probably really useful in this list, because you can actually then use him to dispel your own endless spell.
Which you need, because dispel from the bottle, the second it touches the ground, it is wild. There's an FAQ confirming this. If you use spell on bottle on a predatory endless spell, it is wild, but it is your turn, so you get to move it. I always tell my opponents, I have this spell bottle, blah blah blah. They ask me, can it move next turn? I say yes, it can move. I don't say I move it, but it can move. And so many people try to dispel it start of their turn, and I'm just sitting there. Yeah, you go ahead, you do it. Do my work. If you fail, I'll try. Because that thing is flying back towards you, so you need to get rid of it.
You don't want to be hit by your own purple sun.
No, it's not as bad as it used to be. It can auto slay an Ironclad, but still, D6 plus 6 mortal wounds is not cool because it hits everyone inside. And the good thing about the Navigator is he has a triumph where before dispelling or attempting to dispel, he can pop his gold and re-roll that roll. It's unbound on a 9.
Yeah, so you need to re-roll.
On a re-roll, you usually need to re-roll, but then if you're pretty safe to get it. Maybe your next turn arcane terrain somewhere, That's why you also need at least one navigator to save yourself from your own sun.
Yes.
Unless you get the double turn, then obviously you get to move it again.
By the way, the questions in the chat, I think what we'll do with some of these, we'll circle back to them in a minute when we're talking about some of the options with this list. We'll rattle through all the essential stuff, but keep putting them in. We're not just ignoring them. We'll come back to them. So next essential thing is at least one admiral.
Yes.
At least one. Because once per battle, you have to choose this after deployment, which one of these is going to do. But once the battle, you can do one of these 3 things. You can either remove an enemy unit's ward save, give a friendly Skyfarer unit extra rend, so you can't give it to an Ironclad, but you can give it to those Arcanauts, or make a monster charge on a 1d6 rather than a 2d6. It's a little bit more complicated than that because you have to do it in your shooting phase, which means they're going to move closer to you and stuff. It would be extremely situational for that to be helpful. You take him either to remove a ward or give extra rend.
Yes. And importantly, you choose this after you know who has priority, after the command points have been given out, which usually doesn't matter. You see your opponent's army, is there a ward I need to remove on a 2+ or not? Usually you take at least one with the rend because he wants to buff the Arcanauts.
Yeah.
Because a lot of pistol shots with extra rend is better than a lot of pistol shots without rend.
I think often you're better off using the rend one, unless maybe an opponent's got a 5-up ward.
Yes, if it's 5-up wards or maybe a 4-up on a hero, I use at least one because I use 2 admirals with ward removal. If it's just a deathless, the 6-up ward, and it's not Night Haunt that can buff it and you don't need to rend against Night Haunts, obviously. Usually with a 6-up, unless it's a lot of wounds, like 4 dragons, they have a lot of wounds, and if they're on a 6-up near your objective, yeah, maybe but usually the rend gives you more. You know.
Yeah, most of the time the rend is more important. I think
Mm.
definitely on a six up, almost all the time the rend. 5 up is where it starts getting. You have to then
5
start
up
thinking
or
about
even
it.
4 ups or a
you
3 up go track. Yeah.
Yeah, because on a 5 up ward, it kind of depends on what their base save is and how they can stack that. Because if they
Yes.
can, 5 up ward, but their base save is pretty rubbish, and you get rid of the ward. 5 up ward, but they've got like a 3+ save. They've got a wizard to give Mystic Shield. There's a hero that you're going to want to be able to kill, so they can do best day ever. And once they start stacking those saves, you're probably better off removing the red and going with the extra red than you are removing the ward. Or you just take 2 of these guys.
Yeah, and I found, especially with the new edition, with the heroic action, where you can fight start of hero phase, or you need a Galician champion to do stuff. Admirals are pretty killy. They're pretty good. They have a 3-up save, a 3-up bodyguard, and they smack a hammer on 2s and 2s when fighting a hero monster or an all-out attack. 3 attacks, 2s and 2s, 2 rend. If the sun is near, 3 rend, 3 damage flat. You can take out a fulminator or just kill off that 10 man or whatever's left standing.
And he gets +1 to hit against the enemy heroes as well. So
he heroes on monsters, yeah.
Yeah, he was on monsters. That's good. So that's one of the bonuses. Quickly call out this question from the chat because it's relevant. Yes, the rend and the Purple Sun stack, which is why you want both, because those pistol shots get very good.
Mm-hmm. And one is brand, one is reduced save. Mm-hmm. So they do the same, but it's different. A different wording. Different. Yeah, different effect. Yeah.
Yeah. See,
which is important because Stoneguard from Luminif, they ignore rend, but they cannot ignore the sun because that just lowers their save. It's not rend.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. Good point. So you cover the fact that he's tanky and fighty. I guess you probably didn't mention how tanky he is because he has a 3-up bodyguard, which means he's very survivable.
I mentioned that. Yeah, and he has 6 wounds. Yeah.
Sorry. Yes. And one of the other bonuses that you might not use very often is that he can give a ship run and shoot, which sometimes
is I use it less in this list, but yeah, he can do that absolutely.
The problem with why you don't use it very often, and which is the thing that's annoying about it, is he's done in the shooting phase. If you did it in the movement phase, you'd use it a lot more, but it stops you then giving.
Because he all-out attack.
Yeah, it stops you giving the ship all-out attack, and especially now with leadership of the alpha, where you can give 3 units all-out attack.
Yes,
which is a shame because it'd be really good if you could just get the unit Arcanauts back. After you've done your hero phase move, drop the Arcanauts out. If you could get them back in and then run the ship, that'd be really good. If you could then give all those 3 units all-out attack, but you can't. Okay, moving on then. Yeah, so then of course you need some Arcanauts. So we mentioned how basically they end up becoming a little bit of a hammer. So the important thing about the Arcanauts here is when you have this big unit of 20, there's a lot of attacks. You got 12 shots just from the 2 guys with the water guns. You've got 2 good shots with your skyhooks. I don't normally run these with sky pikes, the ones in big unit.
No, neither do I. More shots. Yeah. 33 pistol shots.
I'll be honest, most of the reason I don't do it is because I don't have that many sky pikes painted. So I need to have a unit without skypike, and it just makes sense for it to not be this unit, and it actually just works out well because it's more shots.
You know what I did? So I used the 2 Arcanauts from Fundrix band. You get 2 extra Arcanauts in that band. So I built these sky pikes, but I don't use them, but I put those 2 in. So I have more pistols.
So and then with pistol shots, if you use the version of the leader where he gets an extra shot, which is what I do just mostly because it's easier to roll.
It's better. It's just better. Have an extra shot.
You end up with, what was it, 33 attacks? 33 pistol attacks, right?
33 pistol shots. Yeah. Now, if you apply the Admiral buff, an extra rend with the sun, effectively 2 rend on the pistol shots. Then the volley gun has free rend, 12 shots
Mhm.
with free rend, and the sky hook has rend 4. It's just 2 shots, but rend
Yes,
4
you
d3
basically
damage.
and that's 33 shots just for the pistols, hitting on freeze because you'll either get them out of the ship onto an objective, hold them in line of objective, or you use leadership of the alpha so you can buff them.
Yes,
Yeah, so hitting on freeze, re-rolling all hits,
with the flare
wounding on
pistol.
freeze because they use a triumph, they're 8 for gold,
Mm-hmm.
re-rolling ones to wound,
Mm-hmm.
and then -2 rend on the pistols, and then you've got 12 shots as well with more rend, but not hitting
Yeah,
so well. And
only
then
on 4s because they usually only
yes,
hit on 5s. But yeah,
yeah,
the re-rolling everything just saves you. Even with the
yeah,
skyhook, it's freeze re-rolling everything, 2s re-rolling 1s, rend 4. You usually get those 2 d3 damage through,
yeah,
and then you roll 2 1s. But it's a lot of output. You just need
yes,
to make sure to get everyone within 9 inches with the pistols. So usually you put the special weapons in the rear next to the boat because they can be further away. They have more range. What I do first, usually I deploy my chemist in the front lines and the admiral, and then get all the arcanauts out. And then if something is still alive, whatever you've been shooting, since you get out within 3 inches away from enemy units, your admiral now has like a 3-inch or 4-inch charge. If you need, just run him in and kill those 5 remaining dudes, whatever it is. Those 2 remaining wounds on a hero, what you're trying to kill, and he'll do it. And if he fails, start of next turn of your opponent's turn, you just say heroic action. He'll fight now, and then you kill him. So you'll kill whatever's on that objective or near it. Yeah.
yes, they will delete something. The question
Yeah,
is,
and
what your ship's going to shoot afterwards, because
yeah, you need
they're
to
likely not
prioritize
shooting
your
the same
targets.
unit.
Yeah. No, unless
Um,
it's the big thing you want to get rid of, Archeon, or I don't know.
yeah,
Also, so you need to make sure where to move your ships with the 12-inch range, and I use volley guns, so 18-inch and 24-inch shots. I usually get the chemist out either to one side or the other because also his gun is pretty good. If you're re-rolling all hits, and you can spare an all-out attack on him because the Arcanauts don't need it because they get a +1 from the objective. So usually I give him one all-out attack and then the 2 ships. He has the leadership of the Alpha because he's the general, so he has an 18-inch range instead of 12. So I usually get him on one side where the other 2 ships are, so he has everyone in range and is still in range with his gun. And the 3d6 shots, freeze rerolling everything, 4s with then effectively free rend because he has 2 plus the sun. It's not bad. You kill things. You can do damage more than you usually do with him because he's just in a boat and is not in range.
The other good thing you can do with him is because he has a lot of rend, is potentially you can shoot. Say if you are taking out, so trying to shoot something like a Bastillodon, you shoot him first because he's got the extra rend. Bracket it hopefully before the Arcanauts shoot as well. That's a handy little thing you can do.
Well, usually the first guy to shoot is the navigator with the flare pistol.
Yes.
And if you're shooting someone with a -1 to be hit, it is a good investment to give him an all-out attack. Yes, it's only 2 shots, but if you miss those shots, you're losing on a lot of output on the Arcanauts.
Yes. Yeah, because you need those reroll hits.
Yeah, because 2
Arcanauts.
free ups is you fail. I failed. So
yeah, I mean the thing is, 33 pistol shots on a free up, statistically you're going to be missing 10. And then you got 12 Vogon shots, you're going to be missing someone as well. So having rerolls on those is a lot of extra damage. Cool.
Yeah, and also maybe because we didn't explain it, how do the Arcanauts get reroll 1s to wound if they start inside the ship? You use a Bellicor Triumph from the chemist.
Yes.
That's the first thing you do in a hero because he doesn't after that turn where he releases the sun and buffs the Arcanauts, You don't need them. Yes, you can generate your command point, but who cares? It's just a
No,
mechanic.
that's also part of the reason why you getting him out of the boat as well, because you get the Arcanauts out. Next turn, he can buff the Arcanauts again, because if he stays in the boat, you can't do it.
Yep.
And even if you end up getting him back in the ship, it doesn't really matter.
Yep.
So that's that. And basically, what you end up here with is a 180 point unit that can delete almost anything in the game.
Well,
yes,
plus chemist, plus an admiral, plus a sun, plus an artifact. So
yes. However, a lot of this
plus
stuff
a ship to deliver them
have to stay there. You can fly high in the air phase, do the purple sun, get the Arcanauts out, get the admiral out as well, because you do need him near the Arcanauts to give them the +1 rend. But then potentially you can just fly high the ship again somewhere else, somewhere safer, so they can they can potentially be a suicide unit, because 180 points is not much of a list for the amount
once
of damage
they did their spike, their output is going to decrease significantly without the flare pistol, without the gold, without the rend, unless you have the second admiral with to do it again. They're still a threat. They're still, they're also a good unit to rally, because taking out what is it, 20 wounds on a 4-up base save, so 3-up if someone attacks it. Usually there's a couple left.
Yeah,
you can rally them, and you can run them 10 inch somewhere else. Yeah.
After you've done all of that damage with them, people don't really like the idea of charging them so much. Of course, they do lose a lot of the buffs, and a savvy player will realize that. But there's a little bit of a psychological thing of, God, if they've just done all that shooting, do I really want to charge into them and have them unleash hell on me? And they basically become a screen as well.
They are your screen. You deploy them as a screen to your Ironclad. Usually the second Ironclad, if it has last word, you can put it behind and then shoot whoever charges them. Importantly, why is this also good is because people tend to screen 9 inches against KO. You need to be 9 inches away from fly high, so you cannot shoot whatever's behind my screen. You can get within 3 inches with these guys, so you shoot 6 inches over the screen. And the ship that jumped out, they jumped out of, it can still move in the movement phase. So also get within 3 inches. You just need to be careful to not trigger a redeploy. So often I get them out. That's a setup. You cannot redeploy. And then I don't move them. I leave them where they are. Maybe I move the ship, but outside of 9 of a unit I don't want. Because what you don't want is people redeploying outside of the 9 inches of your pistols. Because then it's all moved.
Another thing you really need to consider if you are removing a ward is where your admiral goes, and you definitely don't want to trigger a redeploy because quite often if you're removing a ward, you're removing a ward from something behind a screen. So getting that admiral within 12 inches of the thing you want to remove the ward is important, and you don't want to then trigger a redeploy for them just to get to 13 inches away or something. So that's something else to consider. But
so you have a lot of output that can reach beyond screens, which is pretty good.
The other good thing about these Arcanauts is they do sometimes become a bit of a distraction, because you use them, they do all this damage, and then your opponent thinks, shit, they're a threat, I need to deal with them. To the point that they will go after them potentially instead of your Ironclads if they don't realize.
An unexperienced player might, if someone's a good player, he'll know exactly what they do, and you cannot
the best
ignore
thing to do
them.
Is leave them where they are,
but
in some ways.
Because it's 20 bodies and the hero and the chemist, so -1 to be hit on an objective. But the output decreases a lot after that one turn, because the sun will be gone, the rend's gone, and then it's still good, but it's not as obnoxious as it is in that one turn.
Yes.
Okay.
Cool. Next thing is you need a big boat. So you need this because basically you need to do the hero phase move to get those Arcanauts where they go, and also you need to use a hero phase move to be able to use that spell in the bottle with the chemist. So I'm guessing you're laughing because you just read ahead. And that's also why you need the buoyancy aid on the Ironclad, because if you did this with a frigate, which sort of comes back to a question from the chat earlier, but we'll cover that in a bit more detail. You can't do this with a frigate because, first of all, the frigate doesn't have that great engine work, and just its capacity is so much smaller anyway that you could fly high either with the heroes or with a unit of 10 Arcanauts, but you definitely aren't going to do it with 20 and some heroes inside.
That's just the most annoying thing about frigates is that capacity limitation. Dear GW, if you're listening and you're listening to feedback from players for the new book, give that thing like
late, but
12 seats. Come on, you can errata it. First day errata, give it 12 seats, like 2 heroes and a unit of 10 thunderers or something. So yeah, you can absolutely do this for the second ship. Instead of a second Ironclad, you can use a frigate and thunderers if you want, if you feel like spending a lot of points for less models, but or if you don't own a second Ironclad, it's perfectly viable.
Yes. And lastly, it's a bigger ship.
Yeah.
It's big ship, that thing in Jaws where it goes, we're going to need a bigger boat. Well, this is the biggest boat you can get. So it goes pew more than the other ships, and it's harder to kill than the other ships. So
it is has a better save, has better move, it can shoot farther. It's just the better ship, and it's the most output per points without buffs you can get in KO. Yes, with buffs, probably Arcanauts do more damage, but much shorter range. But the ship is just the most point effective pew you can get. So that's why usually you play 2, because it's an efficiency thing.
Yeah, you definitely want at least 1 anyway for the list to function. I think that is basically the essential components, and what that leaves you with is this: chemist with the collector, and
navigator with flare pistol.
Admiral
with the staff, because you need an idiot to carry the staff.
Yeah. And you need an admiral anyway, so you might as well give them the staff. We kind of indicated that maybe you don't need the flare pistol, but I put it on there anyway as an essential. I think the flare pistol is essential. What do you think, Max?
It just makes the shooting much better. If you face a lot of techless lists or something, an orb is perfectly viable. It's a fantastic artifact. Just stopping a spell, stopping that Technado, stopping that spell portal, whatever it is that you need to stop that one turn. That Warsong Revenant bomb, stop it, then it's your turn, then the army is gone. It's pretty strong.
So yeah, this is the essential components. You could maybe say that second Ironclad isn't essential. I would pretty much always go for a second Ironclad though. And the battle ram, you could maybe switch to last word.
So what I've been playing is, as I said, volley guns, because it's just more shots to get extra rend and rerolls. So you bank on the rerolls and everything. And 18 inches is usually enough. Obviously, buoyancy aid you need. I had last word on the second one, just to have it on one flank. Maybe if someone charges it. No one ever charges. They all know what last word does. So why would they? I had in 8, 11, I don't know how many tournament games or high competitive games, maybe 15, one person charged within 3 inches of it, and that was by mistake, which allowed me to shoot some Chaos Warriors again. But so I decided actually to go to the battle ram. So if you need to really kill something off and it's still standing because you rolled poorly on your volley gun shots or whatever, just you can reroll the charge with a navigator seeing the boat and deal a couple of mortal wounds, bombs, admiral, yada yada yada. and you actually get onto your objective with both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna start circling things that I think are either luxuries or things you can maybe tweak. The battle armor basically just that being an ironclad and the weapons. Command entourage could be warlord, but you need at least one, so we'll leave it as command entourage. It's a mess to read now. Leadership of the Alpha, you want it, I think. It's a little bit of a luxury because you have flare pistol.
But it's so good.
It's very good
on two ships. It's just
it does also give you the bonus of that you don't necessarily have to get Arkanauts out of the ship if you can get them into range some other way, just by moving the ship into range.
Yeah, or you're not on the objective. You're like next to it. You still get a +1 to it.
I also think maybe you could tweak whether it's on the chemist or not. It makes sense to get that extra range with him being your general.
Because you need the big base of the ships inside. And there's terrain. There's other units, so they're not all standing next to each other usually.
Yeah, there is an argument that you want to get the chemist out of the boat with the Arkanauts, and then you could make an argument that you actually would rather have it be on a hero that could stay in the ship if the ships are going to go somewhere else and do something else later. Because sometimes what this list ends up being is a management of lots of once per game abilities.
Yep.
Leadership of the Alpha is once per game ability. Flare pistol is a once per game ability. You've got an Admiral was a once per game ability, maybe two Admirals, the hero phase move, and then also the spell in a bottle. Yeah. So you're managing lots of once per game abilities, and sometimes it's overkill to use all of them at the same time.
Sometimes.
And leadership of the Alpha is probably that one that you will deem as, or leadership of the Alpha or flare pistol will be that one that sometimes you might use one or the other, particularly if your ships are shooting things that fly.
Yeah, the question is, what other one are you taking?
Oh no, you still use it, but it's the question of you might use it the next turn.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It depends what you're shooting at and how many rolls you did for your volley gun. If you did like 21 shots, you might forgo it.
and then that's where you start thinking, actually, sometimes you would maybe wish it was on a different hero potentially. But it's one of those swings and roundabout things, because then you'll have another game where you're like, I wish it was on the chemist for the extra range. So there's that. The weapons on the Ironclads, I think, is personal choice.
It's so if you want to kit it to maximum output, it's leadership of the Alpha, the flare pistol, and volley guns. Those, yes, you can season to taste, but if you're going for maximum output, which you don't need to, so in some matchups, as you mentioned, sometimes it's overkill. But I like to have the option. I'm personally, I look at an enemy list and I go through Math Hammer and see how much shots do I need to kill this, or how many units do I need to send over there, and then I can first turn I can delete this, and this, which is obviously on paper. In reality, it never works, but I'm a person like that. I like to do
that. I prefer the sky cannons because volley guns sometimes let you down when you roll for very few attacks.
Yes, and then next turn you spike. You're trying to shoot a little hero and you get 24 shots. It's just like, why now? I don't need this now. Yeah.
The other thing is with leadership of the Alpha is you can potentially have two Ironclads. But if you use the single shot, 2s and 2s, 30-inch range, and just be like, I'm going to shoot that thing and do probably 12 damage to it.
But now with not being able to shoot small heroes next to units, it's less good. That single shot. I used that single shot before. It's great when you can stay back a turn and just shoot, 12 wounds into something, or an important buff piece without committing anything.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. But now that you can't really shoot them, it's less good.
Yeah, it's good against iron blasters. In some ways, it's a little bit of an overkill, but yeah, if you want to be far away from things. And then what you will notice about these essential components is, if that StreamYard thing wasn't annoyingly over the top of it, this is 1760 points, 1,760 points.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to finish off the rest of the list. And of course, we gave an example earlier. And that's also where some options for seasoning to taste come into play. And these are your potential finishing touches. There are some other things you might want to consider. They are roughly ordered in what I think are probably the most popular choices to finish off this list. You've got 240 points to play with. So my go-to is always a second admiral, because what that allows you to do is, if you want to shoot something with a ward, you can still give +1 rend to your Arcanauts. So yeah, that's it. And then he's just another tanky and fighty grand champion.
Yes, which on some battle plans is important that where you score extra with champions. You can send this admiral with 10 Arcanauts, so a bodyguard retinue, to an objective and sit there and score extra points, while the other one that you need for your Arcanauts, the 20-man block, is in the ship with them and can go to the other end of the board. So I personally I favor the second admiral. It's just a great unit for 140 points.
The second thing you probably want to consider is a second navigator. We kind of mentioned that a little bit earlier, but if you take a second navigator, it is for the half-moving flying units, which means you could either half-move 2 enemy flying units, or it stacks, which is really good. So you can quarter-move something.
But I think the reason I like the second one even more is the extra unbind. To have 2 unbinds in your army is pretty good.
It also does mean, because obviously the half move is on a 3+, which is fairly reliable, but not unknown to fail. So it does mean that if you're planning on half move, like you've got a game plan, it's like next turn, or I'm going to half move that thing, go over there, and you fail that 3+, you've got a second chance at it.
And so it's a Galician champion on a 3-up save.
Yeah.
Which is inside the boat is a 2-up save, so it's pretty good.
So the drawback to taking these two things is you're exactly 2,000 points, so no chance for a triumph.
Yeah.
Another drawback is if you take a second navigator, on some matchups, they don't do very much. There are some matchups where your opponent doesn't have flying units and doesn't have magic.
Congratulations, you have an extra screen.
Yeah.
Or another hero that can run.
Yeah, he's still a GC at that point. So
it's fun.
So those two are the mostly the go-to options, I think. There are some more other options that you might want to consider, which is an extra Arcanaut company. Particularly good if you are taking another admiral. Because as you said, you can go and send him off somewhere with just 10 Arcanauts. Basically, just having another unit of 10 bodies is useful. Or you can reinforce another unit. So you have 2 units of 20. And you can do the slingshot thing where you get them out of the boat and move them forwards. And they are then actually get surprisingly far. And then you just go sit on a, what's better than 10 Arcanauts? And an admiral sitting on objective is 20. Or if you give them the turn away, then your opponents come to you a little bit, they can actually get in range, and then you've got 2 units of 20 Arcanauts with extra rend. Of course, one of them won't be as shooty as the other one because you're not getting the flare pistol, the reroll wants to wound, and all that sort of stuff. They can do a surprising amount of damage.
Yes, and it's another, if you choose for an extra 10, it's another screen that moves 10 inches. which in some matchups like Stormcast, where stuff is in the sky, you don't know where they come down, or Beast of Chaos. Now everything comes from the sides, nothing's on the board. You need to screen your boats. So it's good to have, pop out a unit in front of the boat, run it up, have the 20 Arcanauts delivered, and then on the backside you have these extra 10 that you can run up behind them, so you can screen your boats from all sides. It's pretty good to have.
Yep. The extra Arcanaut company is kind of two different options. Like if you reinforce or if you take an extra unit of 10, they're very different things. Ironically, if you reinforce a unit, then you actually have less screens in some ways, because you want to do that slingshot things, which means then you're putting them in the boat. The reinforcing thing, it's a gimmick that probably won't get used in a lot of games. Like it sounds like it should work, but it doesn't. So actually, the more boring option of just an extra 10 bodies in a separate unit is probably better. And it sounds very boring, but just having an extra screen is really good. Other options: an Endrin Master of Endrin Harness, because you can heal your boats, which means if you're prone to positioning mistakes, it might be handy to have, because you can heal your boats, and that means that if a couple of things go the wrong way, not to the point where your boat's dead, but you can't fly high, having that extra healing could be the difference between not flying high ever again that game, or flying high that turn, or maybe even the next turn. He's also another GC.
Yeah, I tried this instead of the second navigator, because you get the triumph bid. And he's kind of fighty. He's not an admiral, but
he's certainly not a survival. He's 6 wounds, but he's got that 4-up save, so
yeah, he can do some damage. But I found, on the D3 heals, if it was free flat, yes, but the D3 from the Endrin Harness is just, you're gonna roll that one, and then you healed an extra wound. I'd rather have the benefits of a navigator personally.
Okay.
But it's an option, yeah.
Yeah. And then lastly, a little bit more left field is an ally, a Knight Zephyros, because he's a GC, but he can teleport.
Yes.
He can go wherever he wants, which is good for submissions.
Pretty good, yeah.
It's a little bit like having an extra screen, just having that extra GC that can go somewhere and do something. It's not necessarily particularly exciting, but good.
I mean,
in a lot of missions.
It's pretty good having a small teleporting unit. Desecrate that lands. You don't need to send an Ironclad. You just send him, or claim that objective, or score extra on an objective with a GC or something. Just send him off.
Yeah, actually, that point about desecrate the lands is, if you go back to that extra unit of Arcanaut Company just as an extra unit of 10, means that you can still have 2 units of 10 screening your boats, and another one inside an Ironclad, which you can then slingshot forwards and run to just do desecrate the lands. Because if you lose a 90-point unit, who cares?
Yeah.
Cool. So let's start fielding some of these questions, because basically these finishing touches is where all these questions come into play. So I'm going to just scroll back, because why not this? Why not that? So how far back do I think? Where was the first question that I was going to go back to?
Somewhere we had a mention of a
frigate
ordinator.
Yeah, I was going to just go back through, and then I know I'm sure the first one was something to do with a frigate.
Yeah, we talked about the frigate.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there was. Yeah, sort of. Oh yeah, there was a mention of an ordinator for John. And first of all, about the drop count, because we haven't talked about that much, which I think warrants some discussion. If you take Command Entourage or Warlord, well, if you take Command Entourage and Battle Regiment, you are 5 drops. Take Warlord, you're 6. And that's assuming you take Battle Regiment. Now, there's an annoying interaction with this list, and we're basically with KO in general or Battle Regiment. If you've got heroes in Command Entourage, which is the boats need to be down before you use your Command Entourage, which basically means you have to end up putting your Battle Regiment down fairly early. So though you are slightly lower drops than if you didn't do it, you don't gain sort of the benefits you would do from being, if you were just one drop. If you just want, it's kind of like the downside of being one drop but being at 5 drops, or downside of being 2 drops and being 5 drops. Do you know what I mean? Because you have to signal where you're going to go at like your second drop or your first drop.
It is. So I've played this with 5 drops, and yeah, you could drop the one ship that's not in the battle regiment, which is not the buoyancy 8-1, so you don't give away where you're going to put that in a corner. And then you can put in 1 hero or even 2, so 3 drops from the command entourage, and then basically you need to start dropping your big battle regiment. And I found that in the end, I found it a bit annoying. So what I did, I changed to a sharpshooter battalion on the Arcanauts. It's not good, don't get me wrong, but it's just in case you need to shoot a hero. In some instances, you can.
Yeah.
If you're fighting Zinj, you can actually go and shoot the 2 heroes behind or in the screen or behind it with Arcanauts. It's not ideal, but you can do it. And they have 5 up ward, 5 up save, 6 up save. I don't know. They just Arcanauts will kill them. It's it's mainly because I was a bit annoyed that my third drop was basically my army.
So, it's annoying. It's frustrating when you play it.
Yeah.
Why not go lower drop? And then the problem with that
because that lower drop would require a second battle regiment to fit in the boat. You lose the flare pistol.
You lose the flare pistol. You'd have to take 2 chemists, but as we pointed out here, you have some points to play with, don't you? So you could take 2 chemists, but you would lose a flare pistol.
You lose a flare pistol, and you lose more or less half the output of the Arcanauts. That's what it is.
So I think realistically, it's probably better to play it as high drops. It's annoying not having that choice, but so many people go on 1 drops now that if you're 1 drop anyway, what you're getting the choice 50% of the time. It's not that. Is it worth losing all that to get that?
Yeah,
50% of the time. I don't know. It won't be 50% of the time. It'll probably be 60% or something. Let's go back down to the chat. See if there's anything really important. So where were we on this chat? Thomas, let's go down because I saw you sort of peering at the screen. Okay, Lord Ordinator. Would you consider him, Max?
The Ordinator gives a +1, and you need the Tunnel Master. And it gives it only to the ships, so it's once per game I can go over there, give +1 to hit to the ships. I'd rather have the flexibility of having leadership of the Alpha on 3 units with an admiral who's there anyway, and they don't need to spend the point.
Alpha has basically made any of the benefits of an Ordinator pretty much moot.
Yeah, Tunnel Master is good on him. You don't need the Vexillor to teleport him, but it's just points you spend for something.
I mean, he's a grand champion, but he's also.
Then I'd rather have the Zephyrus.
The other thing is he's 110 points, and if you're saying you want a second admiral, then that makes you list 2,000.
Not an option. The Ordinator is not an option for me anymore, unless I play 5 ships or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Here's another question. What about Bill? So David Strachan has built his first Ironclad, but could he make this list work with a frigate instead? So instead of 2 Ironclads, 1 frigate.
First of all, with that profile picture, you're not getting any advice here.
What's the profile picture?
Elf people.
Is it an elf?
It was an elf.
Oh yes, I didn't look, and then it's really small once
get
it's
out of here.
Off screen.
Move on. Next question.
I think no. We need to answer the questions. You can maybe make a list where it won't be as good, I don't think. But the simple answer is you drop one of the Ironclads and you take a frigate and 10 Thunderers, maybe.
Yeah, and you could drop 10 Arcanauts because the frigate is battle line.
Yes, and then you start saying you can have,
Thunders.
well, you'd be able
10
to fit the
Thunders
Thunderers in anyway.
inside.
The trouble with the Thunderers inside the frigate is you want to use your gold on the Arcanauts in
Yes.
that turn, and so then the Thunderers have got slightly better with leadership of the Alpha being around, that you can give them +1 to hit if they're not getting out the boat. But it's the wounds. They're wounding on, if your rifles, they're wounding on 4s, and you're not going to be using the hero phase move on them. So you'd end up playing a very different list, I think. Because there's just a lot less attacks from them. But you could take either. I mean, the fact that I'm guessing he already has a frigate and he's now got an Ironclad. You could make it work with 10 Thunderers and a frigate. But it would be so good. Okay, moving down the chat. I think the chat basically covered all the stuff about Triumphs already. Yes, basically, yeah, you can use Golden Triumphs and you can use the Bellacore ones. Okay, dirigible suit.
He's a good Galician champion with 8 wounds, 3 up save, 12-inch move, fighty. But what is he, 160 now?
Yes.
Pricey. Yes, you heal. Decent shooting. Basically, then you have 80 points left. What are you putting in for 80 points? Nothing. You get a very good triumph bid, but I don't know.
You put a normal Endron Master in. You got 2 lots of Endron Master. You got his healing and a normal Endron Master's healing.
Yeah, no. I've seen lists with it. It seems to work.
I mean,
why not? Sure, why not? He's good. He's a good Galician champion. He can get you battle tactics.
I think the trouble is when I consider him is I compare him to an admiral, and I think what that admiral can do.
Yeah.
So that's one. Oh, we've got more talk about the Ordinator. If you have frigates and gun haulers, you can 2.
Gun haulers.
But gun haulers is also
what are
a question.
those? 160?
Yeah, they're the same points as dirigible suit now.
6 up ward for the boat, some shooting, cool. Another unit to teleport, which is good. But I think in this kind of list, you get more from the heroes. Again.
I mean, if you're looking at that 1760 point list version that we had, if you're looking at, you can't have an admiral and a gun hauler. So you're saying I'm having a gun hauler and then I've got 80 points left over. So
same with the dirigible.
Yeah, and I think I wouldn't, unless you were playing maybe something different with a frigate. But then it's, I don't know, or if you didn't have that second Ironclad. But
yeah, you play with a frigate and then he can hitch with the frigate.
Yeah, but
and the Thunder is inside. But then you're going a bit of a different direction.
Yep. Yes. What grand strategy would be best? Take what's
theirs. I can also see DK01 on this.
Yes, because I mean, yes and no. It's the trouble is using the gold on the heroes.
Actually, it's not, because you're gonna spend 1 gold on the chemist to buff the Arcanaut, so that's gone. Then next turn you're gonna use it on the navigator to reroll the dispelling of the sun.
Yeah.
So that's gone. The admiral can use his when you charge him, as I mentioned. Sometimes I do. So that's gone. The 10-man Arcanauts on the 20 already use it in shooting phase. The 2 10s oftentimes use it for battle shock immunity. Something hits them or shoots them and there's like 3 left. I use that for battle shock immunity. So they'll get rid of it or they'll die, let's be honest. But they won't see the end of the game. And then you have another admiral and another navigator left, because the boats are going to use it for reroll +1 to wound eventually. Next turns, turn 2 and 3. So yeah, you're just left with a navigator, and so navigator you can always do a reroll unbind, and the second admiral is charge him again or give him a +1 to wound, because he only wounds on 4s. So sometimes, like last turn, he needs to shoot a hero or something. So I can actually see that being a viable option.
Yeah, I think it depends on who you're playing against a little bit. I think it's easier to plan and do take what says. It's a more achievable one. If you're playing against a really good opponent, I think if you explain to them how the KO1 works, they have more play against it in some ways, because then, I mean, they can play against take what's theirs by just leaving stuff in their deployment, but that's not good for them. But if they, you need to be going into your last turn with the KO1 with either 1 gold, maybe 2 shares of gold left, because you have to use one.
Why do I need to keep gold until last turn?
Because you have to use one every round. You can't just use all your gold.
Yeah,
you have to use one every round. So you basically end up playing on this knife edge where you have to have not much gold left, because if you have too much gold left, you can't use it. But then your opponent can then, like, if they kill that one unit that's got the gold left.
Yeah, I forgot about that one.
Yeah,
like you need to spend 1 each turn. Yeah, okay.
So that's where it starts. And also, if you table your opponent, it starts getting pretty difficult to use gold, because what are you using it on then? Because can you use it can you select units to shoot if you've got no targets? It starts getting into murky waters.
No, you can't.
Whereas you can still do take what's theirs when there's nothing left.
Yeah, okay. Fair point. Yeah, that one.
Stephen come to the same conclusion. I think their question is less about the list that people have answered.
Stefan, who I met at the last 2 day in Austria.
Okay, cool.
He also went 4-1 with KO.
Oh, very good. Very nice. Well done, Stefan.
I think he came 4th place.
Questions. John P says he likes the Rat Trap.
Yes, Warp Lightning Vortex. It's a different kind of playstyle. It's AoE mortal wounds. It's less good now because of how it's set up. You need to be 1 inches away. They all need to be complete. So you're spending 50 minutes just to set up the darn thing.
It's a different list. Ironically, it's still Zilfin, so it's the same list, but it's different because you're not.
It does a different thing.
You're not building up all the different buffs.
Yeah, you're doing AoE.
You're doing AoE, and therefore you play around it, and you take some of the other Stormcast heroes to also do a more area of effect stuff, and you take out GCs.
It's a good thing to do. It's a bit annoying to set up. Yeah, it does a different thing for your list, and it's more expensive. Is it still 100 points?
Yeah,
I'm not sure these days. I stopped playing it almost 3 years ago. So yeah. But it's people use it to good success. Why not?
Okay. An interesting one in the chat. We kind of covered the chemist and battle regiment for 2 drops. Gun hauler with 5 thunderers inside.
No. I don't rate 5 thunderers at 130 points for 5 dudes. There's not they have less output than the gun hauler when they're 5s. I'm not going to spend an extra rend on 5 dudes for 12 shots. Like, no.
If I was going to take a gun hauler with compartments, I would be looking at maybe putting heroes inside, or maybe something like Thunder and its Profiteers, because then it's just like I've got 3 units in your deployment zone or something. But now that you've lost, what was it called? The one Savage Spearhead, that sort of thing. It's become less interesting. Why are Gits better than this?
They are not. Okay. No, I can not joking. I am, as I mentioned previously, I'm painting squigglies and playing around with Gits. They are pretty good, but KO and especially this list has a lot of low rend. Well, in this case, even high rend. But you have generally high volume of low rend shooting. Gits have no armor. There's paper. They have no bravery. You can easily take out entire units. Oh yeah, they can rally on a 4-up. There's nothing to rally if you shoot the 20 hoppers or whatever it is. That's 40 wounds on a 5-up save. Like no issue. Hoppers and point guards, they fly. Yes, they move 10 plus d6 inches and they can run and charge. They're gonna move 5 inches and then try to charge. So they lose the whole flyover and do mortal wounds because they can't. The heroes eventually will die. You can remove wards. Yes, they can give a 5-up ward to units, or the trogs have a 5-up ward. You can remove that with Admiral. So you have all the tools. The main issue is that they can put that many wounds on the board and regenerate if you let them, that they eventually will outlast you and outscore you. But no, I don't see it as better.
Okay, some of the other options suggested in the chat. I finally got to the bottom of the chat. 9 Sky Wardens with an Admiral buff and Purple Sun support, which I guess would be in place of an Ironclad because of points. It would be long range shooting. It's okay. The trouble is then you lose the movement of being able to just go anywhere, which an Ironclad gives you.
Balloons, yeah, I still have the same problem that I have with balloons since start of 3rd edition. Is they are.
The other thing is, if you want 9,
4-up save.
If you want 9, you have to take a dirigible suit, and then you're losing out on flare pistol. You've got to take
you
2
can't
chemists.
hitch them. They don't get a gold.
You don't have to have 2 chemists.
It's 9 dudes. It's a lot of points for not many wounds. Sadly, let's hope they improve in a new book.
So
or do something else. Yeah.
I think we covered all of the options. I think the only other option that I've seen is taking a Celestial Prime, which I think that's just if you take you can only really fit him if you take just one Ironclad.
What is he? 330 points these days.
I thought it was 340, but maybe 330.
I think he went up.
Maybe he dropped
330. No, he went up 5 points. I think.
Okay.
He's good. He's a melee. So if you need to clean up when you didn't shoot with melee, yes, he can do that. He's great at that. My issue with him is he comes at the cost of shooting. And I'd rather have more shooting than have less shooting and then have something to mop up the rest in melee.
I think he's an option if you don't have that second Ironclad built and painted, instead of taking a Frigate and Thunderers or if you are doing he's one of the choices of Stormguard series if you're taking the Rat Trap. And you go
because he has that comet shot, another D3 mortal wounds, and then he has a guaranteed 12-inch charge if he wants 4-up ward. He's good. I played him. He's good.
Realistically, the Ironclad is so many points that if you don't have that second Ironclad and you're not convinced about that, there's a lot of stuff you can take actually, because then you can start looking at units of dragons Go-Trek.
Dragons.
Go-Trek is a good option because the new battle plans focus a lot on the center of the board.
Yes.
It's kind of a different list because then you send you go take out a flank, you send Go-Trek into the middle, and then you what they're going to do. They're going to go through Go-Trek to get to you with anything that's on the other flank, or you come to them on the other flank and rinse and repeat.
Go-Trek is it's one model. He's not a Galician champion. He's a
Yeah.
lot of points. He's very killy. He has a limited threat range, although. And my main issue is nowadays a couple of armies have ward ignores. KO have, I think Daughters have, Night won't have. So yeah, it's very annoying if a quarter of your army just dies like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John said 30 Iron Drakes.
Yeah, unfortunately 30 you cannot do. Could you reinforce them? Because they need a Dwarden general to be
It would
battle line.
depend whether it says Cities of Sigmar.
No, it
Battle
says
line,
Dwarden general.
No, but does it say Cities of Sigmar battle line if Dwarden general? Or does it just say battle line if Dwarden?
I'm pretty sure it only says Dwarden general, because you could play Tempest Eye back in the days, have a balloon dude as a general.
Oh, I'm not saying that the general needs to be, but do they only come sometimes?
Yes,
they only
I know what you mean,
force,
but I'm pretty sure they only need Dwarden general, and that's it.
Yeah, it just
So
says
you could
battle
play
line
them
if
as
Dwarden general. Yeah,
so you could play them as 30. But wow, that's what is that? 3 times 170, I think there these days. That's a lot of points. A lot of points, and then you actually want the Rune Lord to give them an extra rend.
Then you're better off playing
Yada.
Yeah,
then you play Fring or you play Tempest Eye. Yeah. You need a bridge to deliver them. It's a lot of. Then you play the.
Well, you can just push them towards the center of the board, and your opponent's got to go into the center of the board with a lot of the battle plans, and they shoot stuff. But you do need a Rune Lord.
Yeah, but that's 500. I don't know how many points sitting in the middle, and they have 16-inch range.
Yeah, and it needs to be Fring, which means you're not doing the Purple Sun thing. It's a completely different list.
Yeah.
Cool. I think we covered everything. Do you think? Is there anything we've missed?
No, not with this list. Basically, yeah, it's a list everyone plays. You see it a lot at tournaments. I think you'll see it for the next couple of weeks until the new book comes out, and then you'll see a lot more of us and less of this list, because I expect many things to go away. I expect the flare pistol to be different.
Because they're taking rerolls out the
rerolls
game.
will go away. The chemist buff will go away. I'm not sure what they're going to do with spell in a bottle. It might be like the truck boss trade. Yeah, you can take an endless spell. You don't pay the points, and you can attempt to cast it in a manner as a wizard. You get an endless spell for free, and that's it. But you still need to cast it, and it can be unbound. Something like that could be potentially, because people do complain about the spell bottle. Have been since the book came out.
Yeah.
I expect changes to the whole sub-factions. It's going to be a 1 rule or 2 rule sentence.
Yeah. I mean, we did a whole show on this already.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in hearing our speculations on the new book, then go watch the show we did about it a while back. I don't think anything really has been invalidated from that with what's changed since.
Because we don't know anything new.
Yeah, we don't know anything new, and what's happening in other new books.
The new books has confirmed that. I hope we get the shoot from off the board. You're high in
that's
the
only
clouds, and
thing.
You can shoot your Ironclads anywhere on the battlefield.
Yeah, maybe we'll get deploy stuff in reserve, and you can shoot from off the battlefield. Now they've introduced that mechanic, and
yeah, that'd be cool.
Or
you can put
maybe
your ships in reserve.
The only thing they might do is they've obviously started. I mean, it's always been a thing. We've had it before. Khorne had something before about being able to force enemy units to move, but maybe they play around that with skyhooks and grapnels and stuff.
Yeah.
It's the only thing that we didn't talk about.
The Gits have it. The Beast of Chaos have it. They can drag people around.
Yes, it's flavor of the month at the moment.
So we'll see. Perhaps we'll see. So, yeah, the grapnel. I can see the grapnel doing something like that. Pull someone towards you. Yeah, Dark Knight had that on his War Scroll. They pull a monster towards him.
Yeah, so we'll see.
So yeah, maybe it's a rule they want to develop.
The trouble is, if it's in the shooting phase, it's not that useful. If it's in the hero phase, then that could be good. You could pull. I mean, assuming,
but you can pull units within range of guns.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Well, yeah, if it's at the start of the shooting phase, I was thinking you could pull. If it's earlier, you could pull units off objectives before you fly high onto them. But that's assuming we get to keep fly high.
Oof. I can see fly high being a reserve deep strike thing.
Yes, I will.
Then you move around normally.
Say that the only other rumor I've heard recently is that the new book is very different to the current book, which is annoyingly vague.
It's annoyingly vague, but it's exciting.
It's exciting and slightly worrying at the same time.
To discover with all you people in the chat and all us together in the WhatsApp chat. We can discover and discuss lists and try new things out and learn together. And people need to adapt again to KO, new style. Because if it's just you get what you wanted, and this has 1 rent more, and this has 10 points less, and okay. Thank you. 1 week later, you know what list you're gonna play, and then you're gonna play that for the next 3 years.
It'll be actually more interesting the more changes there are. So
yeah,
cool. Okay, well, I think that is the end of the show. So thank you as always, Max. Thank you to everyone that's been in the chat. It was nice to have lots of cool discussion. Sorry that we sort of ignored it for a little while and then had to go back to it, but it kind of made sense, I think, at the time. But yeah, it's nice to have lots of people in the chat because it's fun and we get to talk about stuff. So thanks for watching, everyone. If you like the show, please do hit that like button, subscribe for when the new book comes out, and hit that notification button so that you know when we do shows about the new book when it comes.
Absolutely, yeah. There'll be a lot of shows once the book is here, so make sure you don't miss them.
Yeah, there might not be a huge amount of content between now and then because it's it's kind of.
I guess once we get rumors and community site rule tidbits, maybe some potato pictures.
Yeah, but once that new book drops, all the content all over the place, everywhere,
every night of the week.
Yes, every night of the week is a new show. Cool. So thanks for watching, everyone. Goodbye.
Take care. Bye bye.
Not on screen. There it is.